All right, guys, welcome back to the shack. Tonight, we got a little something a little different for many of y'all. If any of you men out there are kind of like me, and you've got those last minute little gift ideas and things that you want to do, well, tonight's going to be a video for you because I'm going to kind of go through my scrap here, find some scrap wood that I can repurpose into some thoughtful and cool little Christmas gifts for people. Like I said, this isn't going to be those ones that's going to get you necessarily out of trouble with the wife, but it may help take a little bit of the sting off if you've procrastinated to the point that you don't have that taken care of already. So stick around. I'm going to walk you through a few of the things and show you a few little ideas that I have for making really quick, easy gifts and getting rid of some of your scrap wood at the same time. So stick around. All right, guys, first off, here on the table are my last two stove covers that I had on order before Christmas. So I've got those done, just in case. And those will be leaving here. I've been working on some ornaments for a thing they're doing at my church to raise money for some mission trips and stuff. I'm gonna be donating those to the church, and then they're gonna be selling them and taking the money and donating it. So got that done tonight. That's ready for church tomorrow night. So I'm through with that and I'm moving on. I've got a few more things on the list that my wife wants me to do for different things, different people. You know, you got those gifts that you don't know what to get somebody because they pretty much either got everything that you can think of, or they just don't have a wish list. So a lot of times it doesn't have to be an elaborate gift. It can be a simple gift. So one of the things that I have gotten pretty proficient at is I can go through the wood pile, and as you can see, guys, I've got my share of extra wood back there, and I just try to pick out a unique piece of wood. And now many of y'all may not have this. This is straight off of my sawmill. This is some poplar wood that I picked out, and the guy I was logging with didn't want it because he didn't like poplar. But knowing what I know about poplar and the way that the inside of the wood looks, I decided to take this guy with me. This one was growing in a swampy area, and that's what gives it all these nice little colors, is the minerals from the water that's standing around it. So that was an interesting grain. So I've got two pieces of this tonight that I'm going to use to make a couple of projects. And I've got some pine. This is just pine off my sawmill. You can see I've sanded it slightly, but I left the saw marks in there because that's part of the thing that with a lot of my wood, folks like it because it looks more old-fashioned than it really is. Because typically when you buy things at the store, they're not going to have the little saw chatter marks in there like that. So I sanded it down to get it as smooth so it's not splintery, but I left those just for appearances. This is another piece of pine that I have, and these are left over from projects, guys. I couldn't even tell you what the project was, but it's a decent little piece of pine. And so what I'm going to be doing tonight is I'm going to make little cutting boards, little decorative cutting boards that you can just prop up on your shelf, prop up in the window, hang from a hook, whatever. These will be little cutting boards that you can actually engrave specialized text on, designs, or whatever. I don't know what I'm going to put on them yet. The first step of this is I want to basically just show you that with this material, and this is pine that was cut right here near my house, and this pine is 7.3 inches, and this one's going to be a little more. It's going to be 9 inches or 9 millimeters on this one, and this one here is going to be 7.2, 7.4, somewhere in the ballpark. So what we've got is a couple of pieces of material that is within the capabilities of my 20-watt Comgrow, and that's what I'm going to be using for tonight's project, just to kind of show you guys that are interested in it what it's capable of. And then of course we have a piece of 20 millimeter poplar. Okay, could a 20-watt cut this? Maybe, but guys, let's face it, it's just not worth it. 20 millimeters was not intended to be cut with a diode laser. So what we're going to be doing is I got a process that I use to take and use the laser to make this project, but not completely. So stick around for a minute. I'm going to get one of these guys loaded up, and I'm going to show you the process of cutting these two pieces with the laser, and we'll see how well the new 20 watt does. All right guys, so I got the thicker piece of the pine over to the laser. One thing that I will recommend if you're trying to use these pieces of wood like this, if you have a knot and you see the real tight grain right there, try to put that inside your cut. Don't try to cut through that. Those knots are very resilient to lasers, and it'll take way more passes to cut through that knot than it will the rest of the material. I foresee that we're probably going to have a little bit of an issue going across this real tight grain in the center of this. This is a piece of heart pine. It smells like lightered pine. Of course, there's a fire risk when you're dealing with lightered pine, especially because of the high content of resin that it has in it. As that resin heats up, it could possibly turn to flames. So absolutely make sure that your laser is focused. So with the Comgrow, you have to flip this little leg out and just kind of stand it up, loosen the focus adjustment, and then tighten it back. It's not difficult, but make sure that you do get a good focus. So what I'm going to do is I'm framing this out. That's going to show you where my design is going to be. And just for the sake of maybe teaching you guys something about doing this, you can actually run a test cut. This shape, I'm looking at my shape on the screen. I just framed it out. This cutting board has a handle that comes over, and there's this massive material right here that's going to be waste material that's not going to be used. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put me a little test burn in the corner of that the frame box, but inside the edge, just outside of where my actual item is going to be burned, and we'll just make sure I do have enough passes set. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set me a circle, and I'm going to run that circle as a line on this machine, because I've been running it for a while. I'm familiar with it. I'm going to run it at 6 millimeters per second, and I'm going to go ahead and run it for 5 passes. I think that's going to be more than enough. But what you're going to need to do is turn off the output for your main design that you're wanting to build, and change the other one to a different layer, so that you can, change the parameters. So I'm going to do this one as a second one is a line. I'm going to run it as 6 millimeters per second, and I'm going to run it for 5 passes. And that may be more than adequate to cut through this. I'm not sure. So we're just going to run that test burn first, and then we'll look at the results, and we'll make a determination as to what to do for the other layer, which is going to be my main cut for the shape that I want. So I'm going to go ahead and start this, but I do have the output turned off on my main design, but I left the line, my test line is set to output. So I'm going to go ahead and fire this up. But let me get the air assist turned on first, because this thick of material, air assist is definitely going to be needed. And this is probably going to get very smoky, guys. I still haven't upgraded that fan in there yet. So it's probably going to get very smoky, especially with this lightered material. I suspect there'll be lots of smoke. I'm going to try to watch and just see if I can see it drop before it gets to the 5 passes. This isn't the basswood that you see everybody advertising that you can do 1 pass on. This is not it. This is Alabama pine, and it is not basswood. Yeah, that dropped. All right, so that's a drop. I'm going to move it down and to the right a little bit and do one more, but I'm doing it where the neck of the cutting board is going to be, so that it won't affect my cut. All right, guys, so that one dropped as well. So that's 2 cuts. The 5 passes is going to be plenty enough to cut through this. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to delete that layer, and I'm going to go ahead and run the main cutout for the cutting board. And this will be just a little small decorative cutting board. Nothing too fancy, but like I said, this is just making use of some scrap material that I have around. The first part of the cut is going to be the hole in which you would put the leather strap, the string, the rope, whatever you wanted to put on it to either hang it up with or just for decorative purposes. It's going to cut that, and then it's going to cut the shape out. And all these are, guys, is just line files from shapes. A lot of them, the way I got them was just finding them online. Some of them I actually made myself, and some of them I took cutting boards, used a camera, and traced them out that way. That can be a little tricky due to lighting and that kind of thing, and you may have to actually go in and move some pieces around or change some lines to get the look that you want. But while talking about while we're waiting on this to burn, guys, the folks at Comgrow, I've had some conversations with them since the release of this module, and I believe they are working on, for the Z1, they're working on a workaround to avoid the limitations with the limit switches, either by adding a piece on the module or the mounting apparatus to press the limit switches early, or either they're going to come out with a extension for the limit switches to make the limit switch actually come out closer to the module. All right, guys, it's finishing up on the cut. It appears that the 5 cuts is going to be enough to knock it completely loose. The top half is loose. I'm just waiting on it to come back around by the handle. What I'm going to do once this completes, I'm just going to leave it in place, and I'm going to go ahead and burn the engrave to it. I did it in kind of 2 different phases because I had to take a little time while this cut was going to decide what burn I wanted to put on it. And what I'm going to do is, I've got a stove cover design that I built that I'm going to shrink down a little slower, a little smaller, and we're going to put it on this this board. I think that'll be a good versatile home decor piece for most anybody. It's kind of, you know, a universal design. It's going to be one of the grateful, thankful, and blessed designs. So I'm going to see if I'm going to hold down on the actual piece, and I'm going to lift up on the remainder of the wood and just pull this out of here. But I'm holding pressure on the work piece itself because I don't want to move it, because what I'm doing in essence is I am using the burn file as kind of my template to know where that the design is going to go. But there's our cutting board. This is all the scrap that came off of it, and as you can see, it's burning pretty clean. I can, you know, rub my hand on it, and there's a little bit of soot, but not bad, especially considering this is very, very rich pine wood. So I'm gonna go ahead now, and I'm gonna take the output off of the cut layer, and I'm gonna move. This design's 2 parts. It's got a little pencil line that is gonna run, and then it's got a engrave that it's gonna do. So I'm gonna go ahead and set that pencil line up to run at 50 speed at 100% power. That's going to give me a good thick burn, and I'm going to take the feel, and I'm going to run that at, since this is some lighter pine, I'm probably going to run that down to 80 at 100% output. I want a good deep burn on this one, so it'll show up really well on that pine. So here we go. This is going to be the pencil line first, followed up by the feel. The pencil line is going to be at 50 millimeters per second, the feel running at 80. And I've got the line for the cut turned off, of course. And that, fellas, is why I like this machine. This thing is smoking fast. With this 20-watt diode on it, it's unreal. But that is just my pencil line going down right now. It's just kind of outlining the text that's going to be burned in just a second. There's also like olive branch decorative pieces on either side that are going to be outlined. And now it's going for the engrave. So I'll check back with you in a few minutes. This is actually going to take a few minutes. Even with this machine, this is a very engraving intense design that I built. So it's going to take a few minutes. So I'm just going to pause the video and we'll be back shortly. The engraving is finished. The fan actually did a little better job of holding the smoke than what I thought it was going to. There's the final result. Like I said, that's on pine. That's running full air assist for all your critics out there. And that's the burn that I got. Now I'm going to have to hit this with the sander, of course, just to make sure there's no yellowing on the surface. But that is that's what we got right now. Now with the graphic. It's not exactly centered on the piece. I do see that now, but when you're loading it in the light burn, the way that this thing is shaped, it just kind of puts it a little out there. So probably what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim this up because that is going to mess with me. I don't know why I didn't go ahead and measure that thing before doing that. All right, guys, after a little bit of trimming with the table, with the bandsaw, because I forgot to measure everything and get it centered up, I actually was able to trim just maybe maybe 1/8 of an inch off of the side plus the kerf of the blade on the bandsaw, and got that thing back centered. So the difference between being a professional and as an amateur is, as an amateur, you'd have to throw this away, and as a professional, I got the tools to fix my mess ups. So I guess if anybody ever tells you they're a pro, that's what that means, is they've got enough tools that they can clean up their mistakes. But if anybody ever tells you they don't make mistakes, just be careful, because they'll lie to you about other things as well. But yeah, that turned out pretty nice for just a piece of scrap wood that I picked up. Like I said, I put a little jute handle here on it to go with the rustic theme. You could put you could hang this on a nail, or you could prop it up, put it behind some greenery or whatever. My wife's gonna love this thing, and I'm gonna give it to her, because she told me she had a list of people that she wanted to give things to, but she wanted handmade items to give them. So that's one off of the list, and I still got a few more pieces of wood left over. So the next piece of wood is this little piece of pine here that I found. It's a little thinner, won't take quite as many passes maybe. All right, next part of the process, guys, I got to refocus, because this is a different thickness of material. I'm going to drop the head down and refocus it, make sure it's locked back in, make sure the little foot's pulled up. I've got this one framed out. I'm trying to take up as much of this wood as I can with the design. And this is just going to be a long, thin cutting board. I'm going to move my material up just a little, just to keep from having to mess around with moving my design. And I'm just going to run the cut in the beginning just to make sure it cuts out properly. I've still got it set for 5 passes, which we know should be plenty, because it cut the thicker pine, it cut with no problem. So 5 should be more than abundant for this. I'll see if I can see when it drops. Okay, it dropped on 2 passes. Oh, yeah, let me back up and punt on this. I don't know that I'm gonna need 5 passes. So let me stop that. I'm gonna rehome the machine. I don't wanna waste a bunch of time, so I'm gonna go ahead and take that, cut down some. All right, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna change my cut now. I'm gonna change it to 3 passes, because 2 actually cut it, so I'm gonna do 3 just to be on the safe side. And I'm gonna go ahead and go into my shape, and I'm gonna remove that, that hole that we've already cut, and start from there. This is a lot softer pine. It is still pine, but this is not exactly heart pine, so it's going to be a lot softer material, and that's why it's not going to take near as many passes. I'm going to run this one on 3, and looking at the smoke coming out the bottom, I'm going to be honest with you, I don't know that this is going to take 3. It may turn loose after 2, but regardless, I want to make sure I have plenty of passes to get the job done. All right, so the shape has finished running. I'm going to hold it in place, and I'm going to lift my scrap up off of it without moving it. And that's just, I like doing that to where I can see what the piece looks like and to make sure it's cut all the way out. And if you hold the piece in place, if it isn't, you can always send the machine without touching anything. The way that I run my machine, I could send it back out and it would finish the cut if need be. But I'm going to leave that sitting there, and I'm going to go ahead and turn on the other 2 layers of this burn. And this one shouldn't take too long. So I'm going to turn on the line and the feel and go ahead and send them out. As you can see, very fast machine. That's why I'm loving this guy. The power of a 20, the speed of a 10. And you can actually, with this 20-watt module, you can actually take advantage of this machine's speed more, because with the 20-watt output, you can go much faster and still make a mark than what you could if it was a 10-watt module. So that's one plus. All you guys that are asking me if the Comgrow module is worth the upgrade, that's the one thing that I will tell you is if you've got a 10-watt machine and you double the output, especially with this guy, it has so much speed, you double the output, you can actually take advantage of that added speed that the machine has, because the module can mark at much, much higher rates. And this is real time, guys. I'm not fast forwarding. I know a lot of the commercials that you see on Facebook or whatnot, they fast forward the video and makes it look like the laser is really, really fast. This is real time. Now, I do have the white space scan on this machine crunk up pretty good. Let me look and I'll tell you exactly where I've got it set on this Ortur. Going into my device settings, white space scan I've got set to 400 millimeters per second. So this machine can handle it. Other machines that I've used, 400 was just way too much, but this machine can handle it. So. Getting some use out of this design that I built for that stove cover too. I've got the stove cover done, it's ready to be picked up, and I've been shrinking that design down, using it on other stuff to kind of maximize my work. All right, just that fast and we're done with that one. So there's the engrave straight off the machine. Still got my little piece there, that fell out. But moving on to the next step. All right, so now I'm stepping it up, guys. This is an even bigger piece of wood. This is a piece of that poplar, and I'm gonna have to turn this one sideways, and that is one of the downfalls to this machine, is the placement of the stepper motor there. You can't really do a whole lot sideways because the stepper motor will hit. So I'm gonna turn this one around, and I'm gonna cut it this direction to avoid that stepper motor hitting this thicker material. I'm going to eventually come up with a way of raising the machine up without having to take it out and put legs on it or flip legs up, but until then we're just going to work around it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to update my overlay here, and I'm just going to go ahead and navigate the machine out over the top of the work material. That way I can go ahead and set the focus on it. All right, so now I'm going to rehome the machine so I can work from the home position. All right, I'm going to go with a different shape on this one. This piece of wood is it's a lot bigger, it's a lot wider. So I want to go with a different shape than what I did on that last couple. All right, so it worked. All right, for this one, guys, I'm not going to be trying to cut through this material. That would just be insane. There is no reason for me to sit here all night trying to cut through this thick, 3/4 inch thick material. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw my line to be later traced with the bandsaw and the scroll saw, and I'm going to go ahead and throw the engrave on there while it's in the laser. So here we go. I've already sanded the material down and got it as smooth as I want to get it pre-engraved. So I'm going to go ahead and it's going to throw down the engrave. First thing it is doing is it's doing the outline, and then once it does the pencil outline, it's going to go back and do the fill, and then it will be done, because the outline is the same line as the one that it's drawing now. So once it finishes the design in the middle, it should scratch my go-by line for me that I'm going to use to cut this thing out with the bandsaw and the scroll saw. That's going to be my outer shape. That is going to be the shape of this complete board once I cut everything out. I also use the line to mark the hole, which I'll take a wood drill bit and drill the hole for the handle out once I get everything else cut. All right guys, it's wrapping up on the design, and the next phase is going to be to cut this thing out, and we'll be moving over to the band saw to get started, and then on to the scroll saw. So there's the design straight off of the laser. This, guys, is why I like Poplar. See how black, see how defined that is? That's why I like Poplar to engrave on. All right, it's got a little smoky in here running the enclosure with the lid open. So on this particular saw, these straight lines, I'm gonna go ahead and cut those off. I'm gonna try to get this curved line. These more rounded lines, these are gonna be more work for the scroll saw. So I'm just gonna get the bulk of the material off because this thing's much faster than the scroll saw, and then we'll move over to the scroll saw to finish it out. I've currently got a resaw blade on the machine. I've got some thinner blades that I can run where I could do this, but to keep from taking a chance on binding my blade up and breaking another blade, I'm gonna just call it done for now. I'm gonna do these 2 cuts on the scroll saw. All right guys, this is my little scroll saw. This is not an expensive saw. This is actually a really cheap one that I picked up at Home Depot just for doing these guys here. So if you're into laser engraving and you want to get a little more into woodworking, but you're not willing to commit to anything big, one of these little guys for this intricate work, it's pretty handy. This one's variable speed, and it does have a little blower that works off of the piston here that kind of blows the dust off of it. And you even have a vacuum hookup for those of you that would care to use it. I would if I had a hose that would fit that, but I don't, so we're just going to go with it like it is. All right guys, battery died. But got it off the scroll saw. I've got the shape cut out. When you're cutting these with the saws, guys, these things are odd shaped, and that's kind of intentional. If you can't exactly follow the line just a little bit, no big deal. The line, as long as you don't go too dark with it, it sands off really easy. But I do try to stay pretty close to it. But like I said, these are supposed to be handmade, unique pieces. We're not going for pristine. We're not going for something that, you know, you could go pick up at Hobby Lobby. So keep that in mind. So the next step is to get me a drill, and I'm going to drill that hole out. There is the finished product, and that's the engrave. So those of y'all that have been asking me about the engraving capabilities of running this particular machine and running at those speeds, that's what you can expect. I mean, it does a good job. It's really fast. Poplar is a really good wood to engrave, guys. I mean, this stuff is light. It's fairly water resistant if you got it, you know, in the house around other materials and stuff. I've got another piece of it over here that I'm going to be using eventually, but I don't think I'm going to do it tonight. I've got what I wanted to get done out here tonight done. While I've been doing this video, I've also been cutting some stuff out on my other machine for some other orders. I've got that done. I've got a little bit of glue up to do, but I think I'm going to call it a night on this. But there you go, and it's a good little cutting board. Also, I mean, if you really needed a, you know, like I said, this is kind of my meat cleaver design that I burn. But I love the way the Poplar contrasts with the wood. I love the coloring of the wood. I mean, you can't beat this stuff. And this stuff grows everywhere where I live. And I mill it up into 3/4 inch boards, and then I can bring them, dry them, plane them down, and I got plenty of material to make cool stuff like this. So I hope this helps you guys. So run around your shop, find you a piece of wood. If you've got some thinner material, you can do some of these. I haven't sanded this one down yet. I forgot about doing that, but got this one sanded down. That's the pine board. And I've got this guy right here. So those two right there, guys, that's, I mean, if you're in a pinch, you need a little gift idea or something for somebody, throw you some scrap wood on your laser and make something cool and one of a kind. Anyway, guys, that's it for tonight. I appreciate you stopping by. And for all of you out there that are watching the videos and supporting the channel, I really appreciate that. The channel has grown immensely. I had originally set my goal at 6,000 likes for the year, but we have surpassed that, and I owe it to you guys for hitting that subscribe button and watching the video and sharing what you've seen here and the positive feedback in some of the Facebook groups and stuff that I've seen. When I'm scrolling through the Facebook groups, I see a lot of people recommending the channel for content to learn lasers, and I really appreciate that. It has gone a long way towards the growth of the channel. And don't forget that Steve and I, as far as nothing comes up for either one of us, we'll be here Sunday night doing our live. And it's just basically, it's two guys who have our hobbies, our lasers, and we'll be sitting around answering any questions that you have, just talking shop. So if that's something that you're interested in, tune in about 7 o'clock p.m. Central Time Sunday, and catch up with us, and like I said, just set a spell and see what everybody's got on their mind, what everybody's talking about. If you have any questions, save those guys up and we'll try to knock them out that night. But until next time, guys, as always, be safe and have a good day.